No, but
how about you, Trent? Like, yeah,
I think one of the other things is we've taken flack for having leadership on, right? And one of my favorite sayings ever from a movie is, the boss isn't always right, but they're always the boss. And I think one of the opportunities that we miss sometimes, outside of like the PA and all the dog and pony shows that are very Air Force centric and set up, is communicating with people that are higher up the chain and showing them and explaining to them and, like sending the positive message from special tactics up the chain and, GA and ST. And I think when you have that opportunity to engage with them, whether you agree with everything they've done or not, which I think we could all say that it's decision by decision whether I agree with them or not. But like if you have the opportunity to engage with them and leave a positive impact and explain to them your issues and your concerns up the chain, further up the chain, I think why wouldn't we take that opportunity? So there's the positivity aspect, but then there's also the opportunity aspect to highlight how amazing this community is to a broader audience. Obviously all of us really care about the community, the STGA community, and getting that opportunity to highlight that to people that are not part of the community and that the people that are the decision makers in SOCOM and the Air Force and all those other people, and leave a positive impression instead of them just going on social media and all they see is, a bunch of anonymous accounts for the most part being like, these people are terrible people and they don't know the decisions that they're making, all this other stuff. It's like, no, like, but we're here to have the conversation. It doesn't mean we agree with everything, but
right.
You gotta have a conversation to make a difference.
Well, and man, I know Chief Bass gets a ton of crap online, right? I know she does. We've covered it in the 2 hours that we had her on. Little behind the scenes. She took a half an hour each time out of her busy day on the back of that podcast to look at Peaches and I and go, all right, hey, give me some ground truth. What's going on? So, like, I don't agree with everything that Chief Bass has done. You know what? I haven't agreed with any Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force my entire career. There have been great ones like Chief Caleth Wright. There have been some other ones that weren't so great in my career. Great. Who cares? The boss is still the boss. She's still, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. So like it or hate it, she's still like the fact that we were able to have an open communication and we said some hard things to her. We're like, hey, here's the ground truth of the things. And she literally wrote those things down in a notebook and took them for action. So you can say what you want about, how the platform is or whatever. We're not endorsing every single thing that person does when we bring leadership on. And oh, by the way, we have an open invite to everybody. The only reason you haven't heard some more of these dissenting voices is because we asked them over and over and over again to come on, and they haven't. They haven't said yes. We asked the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force if she wanted to come on in the middle of her probably worst social media experience, and she said yes and then followed through. So you can say whatever you want, but there are some people that are willing to take that opportunity and, no kidding, use the platform that we have to speak directly to the forces, and there are some that aren't. And each person is going to make their own choice, but open invite. Let us help you. Hit us up in the DMs. Feel free to come on. We will blast that message out there. We'll give you the chance to talk.
I think people forget that people are humans. People forget they're humans. People make mistakes. We make plenty of them. We've made them in this 17 minutes that we've been recording this. We've made mistakes. Guarantee it. It's one of those things where, do the right analogy. You got the glass house analogy, and the good one that I always go to is when Barry Bonds was getting hit with the steroid thing. And I remember in an interview, he's like, hey, all of you have made mistakes. And he's talking to the journalist. He's like, every single one of you have made mistakes. Make sure your closet is clear before you come open the door to my closet and check it out and criticize everything I have, which is true. So I tend to think like whenever somebody's making whether it's a poor decision or a perceived poor decision, understand that maybe that person is making a mistake. Maybe you, as the person that is providing that criticism, just doesn't have all the variables in the equation. There's probably reasons that they are making that decision, and all you're seeing is one aspect of it. And and at the same time, they're also making very, very difficult decisions that impact lives. And that's just, it's tough. It really is tough because there is never a 100% solution to a difficult and complex problem.
Yeah.
Someone is still going to suffer.
Well, and I say it all the time. You know, there's the common phrase of like, well, you have to choose the lesser of two evils. The thing that's baked into that statement is you're picking an evil. You have to pick one of those evils and be okay with it. And sometimes you're just looking like, how can I do the most good? But sometimes you're literally like, how can I cause the least amount of harm? Because you know that you're going to have to do something. Like we have to make these hard choices. And it reminds me another thing that deserves to be said. You don't know these people, right? Like if you watch a podcast, just because like, hey, I love everybody that listens to this podcast, and I have good friends that listen to this podcast, right? So hey, cheers, thank you. But you don't know me. Unless you're my friend, unless we interact every single day, like you know what you see on the internet or what you see on, you know, the memes or what you see, whatever else. You don't know me as a person. You don't know who I am. You don't know my opinion on all of these things, and that's by design. And how narcissistic of people, I love that the best when they make, you know, people will make value judgments and they'll say these things like, how narcissistic of you to assume that you know what my opinion is and you never even asked. Like people don't hit my DMs and go, hey, Aaron, you said this. I'd like to know your opinion on that. I just see the meme later where they make fun of me for saying it. And I'm like, that's not how I feel at all. It's a funny meme, but that's not how I feel, you know?
Well, and do you even really think that? Or are you just posting a meme on social media? Just like when leaders make decisions, like, and I'm sure your ceiling fans know the same things that my ceiling fan knows.
Oh, yeah.
I've made decisions for other people before without maybe all of the data. And I'm coming back and looking at them now and being like, bro, you did not make the right call in that situation. And so to assume that everybody in your leadership chain, every decision that they've made throughout their career, they're looking back at that now and being like, I made the right decision. And you're not giving them room to grow. And if you're not having those conversations and allowing them to be people and have, give them room to grow as well and to get more of the data, it's not a worthwhile endeavor to just go after someone and attack them for everything that they've ever done on the internet. You know, like it's like an internet problem, right? Like this is a static person when they made this statement, but that's them for the rest of their life. Like that's nonsense. Every decision that you make is not who you are for the rest of your life. And then the data that comes out afterwards, it's like, well, obviously this was a bad decision because of this. It's just like, man, like if you've never done anything difficult, you have no idea what you're talking about. And if you've never like looked back at the decisions that you've made and you say like I wouldn't change anything, then you're either an idiot or you're super narcissistic. Like I don't know how else to say it. We're supposed to be talking about positivity, right? Sorry, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, we're still talking about positivity, but
well, we're not talking. We're talking about why people ask us if we're positive. So this is good. Let's not stop the direction. I like the direction that it's going because it's really getting to some real talk.
Well, I was just going to say, and I've said it before, that like I'm a firm believer in doing like there's the correct thing to do and then there's the right thing to do. Sometimes the right thing to do is the correct thing to do, but not every time is the correct thing to do the right thing to do. If I'm saying that correctly, like I always tend to do what's right. Or I shoot for everything that was right. I definitely don't get everything right. But the intent is there. Like I intend like, hey, I know that it says this, but this person, like this solution or this path is the right thing for this person or the right thing to make XYZ happen.
Right.